Hi, so what we're going to look in part 3 of this case study is just if you want to, we're going to take the same data as we had last week, which we summarized in the pivot table, and sometimes you might want to use a SUMIFS function. So let's say I want to summary by project. Okay, so what I would do is I'll go summary by project, click here, equals, probably just go down to my lists and just click on my projects here, and then just copy that down. Right? So then if I kind of add more projects to it, it'll appear automatically. The second thing I want to do is just put in the months. I'm just going to type in January. Right? And if you notice, if I go back here to my payment journal, you can see it'll be the same as the months here in the months column, column B. So I'll just highlight this all the way across to December, and then I just put in total. Right. So essentially what we want to do with the SUMIFS is this, is we want it to, now I'm going to pick the total paid, but you could also pick out like the VAT amount or the amount net of VAT or any other column you want to use. As long as you've kind of chosen something. And I'm just going to move that out of the way for a second. This is one of the ones that's going to be a little bit tricky. Right? And what I want to do here then is basically say, okay, look at my data set and say, okay, give me the total, for example, for, let's say, client printing 1. So highlight it here. Right, now in this case, there's only kind of one amount or 100. But if, for example, I had a number of entries, I just want to be able to kind of set it up, gives me a summary as I go through the months. So use that with our SUMIFS column. So I begin by clicking here. I go to formulas, up to math and trig, down to statistical, down to SUMIFS. Okay. And my sum range is going to be whatever it is I want to total up. So I go to my payment journal, and I'm going to use my total column. Okay. Now, if you just notice here, I also moved that total out of the way because I actually don't want the total included in it. Otherwise, it would double the payments. And I'm also just going to press F4 to lock it because I don't want this to change as I'm copying it across. Now, I now go to my criteria range here. And for this one then, I'm going to go back into my payment journal. And I'm going to highlight my assigned to project here. And I'm making them all the same. And if you just notice, I press F4 again. Right? And then I come down to my criteria 1, which is going to be this one. And then I just lock that until it reads $B6, because I want to make sure that when I'm copying it across, I want the reference here to change, but I don't actually want the column to move as I'm copying it across. And then the last bit then is to do for the journal, is to do for my months. So I go to my payment journal, highlight my months, F4 again, go to my criteria 2, and I click up here and I just press F4 on this until I read $5, and then I click OK. And once I got this done, I can then highlight it down, highlight it across all the way to there, to my totals. Get my auto sum here, God bless auto sum, and then I can see there, okay, that's how much I spent in each one. Highlight it down, and then I come down here to the bottom, just use my auto sum again, be 4975. Okay, and let me go back in here to my payment journal. Okay, 5475. Okay, so what am I missing here? Okay, so what am I missing here? Okay, now I think for some of them, what it is here is, let's see now. This is actually quite an interesting kind of learning opportunity, because when I click here, see that 4975, my payment journal, you can see there I've got a difference here. And the reason for this is that this 400 has not been allocated to any project. So if I allocate this, for example, to your accounts, see it there? Okay, and go back into my summary by project. All right, and there we go. Okay, now this is actually quite an interesting one, because what has happened here is that, for example, the first thing I did here is I checked the difference. So the difference is actually 500. So I went back here to my payment journal, looked at 500, and there's one, this leader accounts is actually, you see there's a little thing on it that kind of tells me that's not part of it. So if I change this, for example, let's say to your accounts, and then I go back into my summary by project, you can see here the total has actually done this up automatically. So that was actually quite a useful exercise, just in terms of, being able to just test things. And let me just kind of put a little heading 3 here, and just do a little thing here, just do a little formatting on that as well. Okay, and if I come down here to this one and just use my auto sum, and then just drag this across as well, so I can see it then month by month. And essentially you just do the same thing as well then for your, if you had to do it, let's say for expenses, you just essentially do exactly the same thing. And I'll just make the this bold so it's kind of clear. Okay, so you see month by month project what you've spent on each of them. And of course, as you go along through the months, this will automatically update as you go through it. Okay. So I hope you found this useful. Mind yourself. Take care. Bye.